everybody. Welcome again to another episode of What to Watch with Antony. This week we're going to bring you murder mysteries of the movies, and we have 5 choices. At least one I've seen, and a lot of, well, the others you have, obviously, and you are a great fan of them. So, do you like mysteries?
I love mysteries. I think that you can do always a lot of interesting things with mysteries. You know, it's not always just like, okay, solve this murder or solve this crime. You get a lot of great character work in these type of stories, and that's what the 5 films that I'm going to talk about today showcase very well.
Wonderful. So what's your first pick?
My first pick is a film that I actually saw last night for the first time, but loved it so much that I had to include it in this series, and basically made the entire theme for today's episode centered around it, and that is Alfred Hitchcock's classic 1958 Vertigo.
I need you to be Madeline for a while.
This film stars Jimmy Stewart, who was a frequent collaborator with Mr. Hitchcock, and it co-stars Kim Novak in this suspenseful thriller that really delves deep into the human psyche of its main character, Scotty. This is a really interesting film that really showcases Hitchcock's more matured filmmaking skills. It's a slower film than a lot of his other films, but through that pacing, you're able to see a lot of the brilliance of his direction. He's able to establish these characters and form a relationship with them that you really care more about the romance than you do about solving the mystery, which is a real credit to the way he's able to create these characters and the actor's ability to capture them. It's a really great film that always keeps you guessing. I really didn't know how it was going to end until it ended.
Guessing and guessing and guessing, to the point where you think the movie's over, and it's not. And then it's not. And then it's not.
Yeah.
And then it is, eventually.
And eventually, after 2 hours, it does reach an end.
Right.
But in that 2 hours, you will be very entertained. If you haven't seen this, or you haven't seen it in a long time.
Beautifully shot. The colors.
Yeah, it's one of his most colorful films. Check it out.
What about that list?
Yes, the Sight and Sound list, which is basically, we have the American Film Institute here in the United States. The British version of that list has Vertigo as their #1 ranked film of all time.
So, Antony, thank you for that. What is your second pick for murder mysteries of the movies?
My second pick, we're going to jump forward to 2017. This is Kenneth Branagh's remake of the classic Agatha Christie novel and then the later film, Murder on the Orient Express.
The real killer is right here. One of you people.
We're surrounded by lies.
I'm sleeping here, where everyone can see me. And I can see everyone.
Who takes up the knife?
Cannot trust no one. Another one?
This film really just surprised me when I saw it in theaters. I saw it 3 times its opening weekend. It really just, something about it was just very captivating. I think it was strongly assisted by the amazing cast. You have Kenneth Branagh as the famed detective Hercule Poirot. You have Penelope Cruz, Michelle Pfeiffer, Johnny Depp, Daisy Ridley, Judi Dench, Leslie Odom Jr. from the Tony-winning actor from Hamilton. You have a lot of great actors in here. Willem Dafoe, Derek Jacobi. Just a great ensemble that all elevate their work so well. But then at the heart of it, you really have a great story that Kenneth Branagh captures beautifully. He really, I won't spoil it, but this is a movie all about like family, loss, grief, coming together in trying times, and he really captures that with his direction. He keeps it engaging while also being very perceptive of the themes about what is moral, what is black and white, and sometimes when a gray area does arrive. The score by Patrick Doyle is sweeping and lush, and it delivers on the mystery that the original book and the original film did as well. If you haven't seen this adaptation, even if you have read or seen another version of Murder on the Orient Express, Do not miss out. This is a fantastic remake that I've revisited countless times, and I've fallen in love with it every time.
Great. Wonderful. Thank you. And your third pick this week?
My third pick, let's go back to 1944 for Billy Wilder's classic noir film, Double Indemnity.
A murder's never perfect. Always comes apart sooner or later. And where two people are concerned, it's usually sooner. Could they get away from him and his relentless pursuit? And could they get away with murder?
You don't know Keys. Once he gets his teeth into something, he never lets go. He'll investigate you. He'll have you shadowed. He'll watch you every minute from now on. You afraid, baby?
Yes, I'm afraid. But not of Keys. I'm afraid of us.
I'd like to move in on her right now, tonight. If it wasn't for Norton and his striped pants ideas about company policy, I'd have the cops after her so quick it'd make a head spin. Now, we know the Dietrichson dame is in it, and somebody else.
Only you haven't got a single thing to go on, Keys.
He'll show. He's got to show. Sometime, somewhere, they've got to meet.
This is a film that I got a chance to see in my high school film class, and I was so fortunate to have seen it because this is just, not only is it one of the high standards of the film noir genre, but it's one of the best femme fatales in cinema, that being Barbara Stanwyck's performance as Phyllis Dietrichson. She, along with a great cast with Fred MacMurray and Edward G. Robinson, this is just a really engaging and interesting film about allegiances, who you believe in certain situations. It's also for the 1940s, I feel like you get this idea that the 1940s were like very slow films, when that's not the case at all. This film is riveting. It has so many great sequences, so many great performances. Of course, there's another great romance in this film between MacMurray and Stanwyck. And Billy Wilder, as he does in every film, just executes his vision so well. Again, this is another film that if you haven't seen it, or you haven't seen it in a long time, make sure to revisit it. It is a classic in every sense of the word.
Okay, thanks, Antony. So 1944, and now your fourth pick moves us into what year?
2018. This is a new type of mystery, one that you would not have seen back in the 40s. This film is called Searching.
We'll handle the ground investigation, but as a parent, you can help us with who your daughter talks to. Is that something you can do?
Yes. Do you mind answering some questions for me to help?
Did see her eat lunch alone.
On Thursday?
Every day.
You don't think she's involved with anything serious? I know my daughter.
We're not really that close.
She has friends, right?
Kind of.
Why did you invite her to study group?
I'm trying to get into Berkeley next year.
When was the last time you saw her? She did not run away.
Local team has been missing since last Thursday.
She made a transaction of $2,500. I know my daughter. Where were you the night my daughter went missing? I know my daughter.
Look into her behavior also.
She gets a fake ID. I know my daughter. This is her keychain.
She was my best friend.
You broke his jaw.
I know my daughter.
I'm trying to help you find my daughter.
I didn't know her. I didn't know my daughter.
And this is a really interesting movie that it tells the story of this father trying to find his daughter after she goes missing. It stars John Cho and Deborah Messing, who you may know as Grace from Will and Grace. And she plays a police officer helping this father locate his missing daughter. And while he's trying to find her and he talks to classmates, he starts to get the sense of who she really was and that he might not know who his daughter is. It's a really interesting film on its own, but then what's really great about this movie is it's all told from the perspective of the father's laptop. It's, you basically watch his computer screen as he Google searches, he FaceTimes and Skypes with the police officer. So the whole movie is from his desktop. It's really interesting how this new form of modern filmmaking was able to be utilized to tell such a thrilling film. It kept me guessing the entire time, and if you haven't seen it and you're in for a more modern take on the mystery genre, check this one out. I don't think you'll be disappointed. The fifth film on my list is also the most recent film. This comes from writer-director Rian Johnson, who is Oscar nominated for his script for this film, Knives.
Gonna fly, I'll take a chance. Right high, for my numbers up, I'm gonna fill my cup. Gonna live.
You know something. Spill it.
I suspect foul play. I have eliminated no suspects.
I'm gonna live.
It's a twisted web. We are not finished untangling it, not yet.
What is this? CSI KFC?
This film is so entertaining, yet so mysterious. It's another film that was really surprising because of the way that Johnson decides to tell this story. He's not interested in like, oh, what's the crime? How was it committed? He's more interested in how the people surrounding the crime, how they deal with it. Family members, friends, loved ones. That type of story. And it creates for a really engaging narrative, one where you follow Ana de Armas's Marta Cabrera, who, if you don't know who she is, watch this movie. You will be amazed with her talent. She's going to be playing Marilyn Monroe in a new biopic come the fall or next year, depending on when it gets released.
Is this movie funny too? Doesn't it have like a funny?
It definitely has. It's more lighthearted than the other 4 films on the list. However, don't let that mistake you. It's still thrilling, and it boasts such an incredible ensemble cast. As I said, Ana de Armas, Daniel Craig as the detective of this mystery. However, he has a southern drawl, so it's really fun to watch him solve it. It's very different from any other detective you've seen in the past. Chris Evans, who you may know as Captain America. Jamie Lee Curtis, Toni Collette, Michael Shannon, Christopher Plummer. There are so many great actors in this film.
We saw Michael Shannon on Broadway.
We did. He was A Long Day's Journey into Night with Jessica Lange. He's a great actor, and he gets to show off some of those chops in this film. Yeah. In the end, this film is it's such a modern take on a classic mystery film, and you definitely don't want to miss it. So yeah, those are the 5 films.
Wonderful.
So,
wonderful. Thank you, Antony. So that's a fun genre, I think, for people to check out. And we thank you again for giving us an opportunity to catch up on some movies we know, some movies we don't know. And looking forward to seeing you next week for What to Watch with Antony.
Bye-bye.